Looking for financial insights you can trust?
How do you protect yourself as an investor? What's the strategy?
I think it's really simple. I think you just want to be diversified in your portfolio.
The Payne family brings real-world experience to every conversation.
Well, I think that's the problem right now is, right, a lot of people that are close to retirement, they're taking so much risks. And if we do get a big sell-off, it could derail their retirement.
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, the purported ransom deadline in the Nancy Guthrie case has passed just a few hours ago. And so far, no sign of Nancy Guthrie. Unclear if any payment was made, but there are a lot of questions about the story tonight and different versions of different things that are coming out. In just a few minutes, we're going to be talking with Sergeant Betsy Brantner Smith. She's done hostage negotiations, spokesperson with the National Police Association, to get her take on all these big developments. But just coming in the last few minutes, the FBI putting out a statement, which is very interesting, as this second supposedly final ransom deadline has now passed just a few hours ago, with the FBI saying, quote, "The FBI is not aware of any continued communication between the Guthrie family and suspected kidnappers, nor have we identified a suspect or person of interest in this case at this time." So how do you read that? First off, just a little bit ago, Savannah Guthrie seeming to be unscripted, seeming to be clearly very emotional, seeming to be reaching out to the public to try to get some help to locate her mother. Listen to Savannah just a little bit ago in a post right before the deadline passed.
She was taken and we don't know where. And we need your help. So I'm coming on just to ask you, not just for your prayers, but no matter where you are, even if you're far from Tucson, if you see anything, if you hear anything, if there's anything at all that seems strange to you, that you report to law enforcement. We are at an hour of desperation, and we need your help.
An hour of desperation. And that one, it looks like she's talking to the public. We need your help. Please look, if you see something, even if you're not in the Tucson area, we don't know where our mother is. We need your help. A very different message than what she and her siblings put out on Saturday, where they said, we understand, and kidnappers, we will pay. This is what they put out on Saturday. Take a listen to this.
We received your message, and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
What an unbelievable case. And at this point, clearly everybody wondering what is happening. In these supposed ransom notes, they were saying you need to pay $6 million in Bitcoin. Here's the account number. And if you don't, some very severe consequences will occur. You can read between the lines what that could be. So what has happened? We don't know if any money has passed. You heard from the Guthrie family saying they will pay. So did they pay? And also, police are going back also to the sister's house yet again, going back to Nancy Guthrie's house, the mother, of course. So what are they looking for? Have they given polygraphs to family members and friends and landscapers and everybody else? There are so many questions tonight. Well, joining us now to talk about all of this is the great spokesperson with the National Police Association. She's a retired Chicago area police officer, and also she was a hostage negotiator who received training from the FBI. So joining us again is Sergeant Betsy Brantner Smith. Betsy, it's so great to have you. Just your take on all of these new developments just in the last few hours in this case.
Well, Rita, starting with that video, Samantha seemed just exasperated, frustrated, and very emotional. And I thought it was very telling that she did that on her own Instagram without her siblings. So I think she's reached that point, and she said it, that point of desperation where she's now just asking the public, please, please help us.
What do you make of the fact that Savannah Guthrie was alone in that, Betsy, that she didn't have her sister and her brother by her side? What did you make of that?
I thought it was very telling. In these types of situations, very often families start to splinter a little bit. And, when you, and again, I don't know the family. I live nearby, but I don't know them. The brother seems very no nonsense. He's a military guy. He's a pilot. And then the sister Annie, she's a little bit more of a ne'er-do-well, her and her husband. So I think Savannah felt maybe she had to just take the bull by the horns and say, listen, we need the help of the public. They hadn't really asked for that before, and that's what she did.
Now, when you say that she's asking, and you're right, like it seems like in the other ones, she's directing it to these purported kidnappers. And then in this one, she's asking the public, and she seems to be fairly calm in the ask. What do you think has happened since that one on Saturday to here? The FBI saying there's been no continuous communication. I guess the question is, do you think that they have paid? We don't know. Apparently, they didn't pay in the first Bitcoin account, but then, as you probably know, you can set up a Bitcoin account. I think it's like anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes. And then there was a second one. Right, exactly. Yeah. And then there was that second ransom note that came, and that very well may have had a different account number that TMZ didn't get. So I don't bank that they didn't pay something, but what do you think? Do you think that they paid and they're wondering, okay, well, now where's our mother? Or do you think something changed where they said, okay, well, maybe we shouldn't pay?
I'm guessing that something changed and they're finding out that perhaps this second ransom demand was also a hoax, like the first one was, and that is being worked on a different level. Because she did just seem so exasperated. I think she was ready to pay. They were ready to pay.
Yes.
Sure, we'll give you $6 million. Give us our mom. And now she's just utterly frustrated, and you certainly can't blame her. Now,
do you think that when you say the first one was a hoax and the second one, I don't know if they're a hoax or not. I'm not sure. I guess I have to ask you because you're the expert for sure, Betsy, at this. I mean, there were a couple things that they said in the first one. Okay, there's the Apple Watch. There's the floodlight that was knocked out. And then whatever the second one was clearly sent them back to the house, remember? And then they started looking at the sewage system. And then they also...
Oh, absolutely. No, I'm talking about the ransom demands are a hoax, not the kidnapping.
Do you believe the notes? Do you believe the notes are fully a hoax, or do you think there's somebody who's playing games and maybe the motive isn't just money? Like maybe there's some other motive, but the notes may be something legit.
I think that the notes demanding money are wholly separate from why Mrs. Guthrie is missing. That's just my opinion, my experience as a law enforcement officer and with these cases. And I think it's so horrible to give these people hope that they can put money into a Bitcoin account and get their mom back. I don't think that's going to happen. I hope I'm wrong, Rita, but that's how I see it.
Now, you believe it's separate. Why do you believe it's separate? Do you believe that there's nothing to these notes, that maybe it's somebody who could have just seen, Mrs. Guthrie on TV and said she had this? My understanding is they said where the Apple Watch was inside. Like it was located on such and such, and the floodlight, right. This one's broken here, and maybe it's not something that was, wholly visible unless you had kind of been to the house. So do you believe that the notes are not from someone who had anything to do with the crime, or do you believe that do you believe that maybe there was another goal here, that it was revenge for something, that it was a home invasion gone bad? What do you think?
My guess, as far as what happened to Mrs. Guthrie, I do believe it's one of two things. I think it's either a home invasion gone bad, where either she was the target or she wasn't supposed to be there, but was, wouldn't cooperate with whoever it was. You know, maybe they wanted her to go to the ATM and take out money, things like that. She fought, maybe hit her head. Remember, we've got her blood on the front steps. There's all those kind of variables. And the other thing, these types of situations also often become familial. So in other words, is there a family member who could possibly be involved in this type of thing? And when we investigate these types of cases, that's one of the first things that we do is start really sweating the family. In other words, talking to the family as soon as we know this person is missing. Separate them. You know, how do you feel about your mom? How do you feel about your mother-in-law? You know, all of these different questions. Get a feel for how everybody is feeling about each other and mom. And, you know, is there somebody in the family who is frustrated with her for any way, for any reason? And I'm not sure that happened in this case because of the way information sort of dribbled in.
Yeah, and also, what about polygraph? I mean, I'd ask them to take a polygraph too, Betsy, right? I mean, there's no evidence
Absolutely.
that they've been asked. I mean, I would just to see their reaction. Oh, no, I can't do a polygraph, you know?
Right, absolutely. I mean, there are things that should have happened, but you know, they were delayed in taking Mrs. Guthrie's car. They were delayed in taking the daughter's car, which the mom apparently rode home in after this dinner. And then there was a lot of misinformation. They said that she had gone to dinner at a restaurant with her daughter and son-in-law. Well, now we know that she went to their house for dinner. You know, just so much misinformation. There was a delay in reporting this case, you know, so that is a problem. There was a delay in getting aircraft in the air to look. It's really just an overall unfortunate situation.
The other thing, Betsy Brantner Smith with the National Police Association, the other big thing, this is a wild report. Fox News, I believe it is reporting that according to their sources, that remember we heard the story that she was supposed to be at church, didn't show up for church, and that's when they notified that there was something wrong. Then the kids got involved and were, you know, told, hey, your mom didn't show up for church. And then they went to the house and soon afterwards, almost immediately, it looks like called 911. Now there's a report out there, and I haven't seen, you know, anything because this is just sort of breaking. This is, you know, breaking fresh news that apparently a source is telling Fox News that for years, Nancy Guthrie would meet with friends instead, wouldn't go to an actual church, but she would go to like a friend's house and they would watch this stream service from New York City, from Tucson, and it's a church that Savannah, her daughter, goes to in New York. So like, oh, we're going to the same church service as Savannah, we'll be streaming it. And her friends, maybe because she couldn't get around and maybe the friends had similar problems, you know, physically with their age, that they would all watch it together. So she didn't go to a church, according to this report, if this is true. That's another, like, why can't we get a straight story, Betsy?
Well, you're absolutely right. And we also have a report that once they figured out she was missing, Savannah Guthrie first of all, Annie Guthrie didn't call the police, apparently. She's the one who lives there. But Savannah Guthrie called our Arizona Senator, Mark Kelly, who then notified both the sheriff and the police chief, which I'm sure Senator Kelly didn't know if she lived in the county jurisdiction or the city. But that then created this delay as well.
And now, is that true? Do we know if that's true that Savannah called Mark Kelly first?
Yes. Several of our local outlets are reporting that.
That's interesting. So when she got the news, she called Mark Kelly. And what, the sister called Savannah as opposed to 911? Is that what you're telling me?
Apparently, it went through several channels before law enforcement was notified. Again, because we do deal with elderly walkaways frequently, you know, in Pima County. But you know, instead, that's an unfortunate delay.
Oh yeah, that's if indeed right that the sister called Savannah, then Savannah calls the senator, and then the senator calls. I mean, that's a lot of time that's already gone by wasting. Again, maybe they didn't know clearly at first what was going on. But then remember, we heard that the sheriff said that they called 911, it looked like within like 7-8 minutes.
Right. And this is the problem that we're having in Pima County. And this is why you have not had a press conference by our sheriff in several days, because I think that he has decided, because he was giving press conference after press conference, hour after hour. And
Betsy, he had time to go to a basketball game on Saturday night. How disgraceful.
He is a season ticket holder, I'm told, for our University of Arizona Wildcats.
That's stunning. Betsy, that is stunning to me.
It is stunning.
That in the height of probably the biggest investigation of his life, the entire country is watching this case, and he should be doing nothing but investigating and getting a few hours sleep, and the rest of the time leaving no stone unturned, and instead he's like at the basketball court. That to me says it all. I know you live there. I don't, so I'm going to say it, Betsy. That's disgraceful. That guy should not be in office. If he can't figure out that an investigation is more important than a basketball game, I'm sorry. Even if it was his kid playing, it doesn't matter.
No, and you're absolutely right. And that is the kind of hubris, unfortunately, we see out of our local sheriff. He is a man who puts politics over public safety. He's done this for decades. I can say this as a resident. And while his men and women are out working their rear ends off, he's going to basketball games and he's playing politics. And I think that now the FBI has told him, Sheriff, stand down.
Yeah, stand down. Betsy, wow, please keep us posted. There are so many twists and turns in this case. We appreciate it. Betsy, thank you.
Thanks, Rita, for having me. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much. And everybody, we'll be right back.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. This is the Rita Cosby Show.
Well, there are so many questions tonight about the Nancy Guthrie case. There's a report that locals waited a long time to go and reach the feds and accept help from the federal authority. Why would you not want to take help from the FBI? They are the best of the best. And you would think you would want all their resources, all their funding, all their support, especially because President Trump has said that this is something that he wants full attention. He doesn't want to have any corners cut. Why would you not want to take advantage of that? And you just heard from Betsy Brantner Smith. Why does the story keep changing? And why, if indeed she didn't actually go to a church, but friends said she didn't show up at a house, why didn't we know that? If indeed that's the case, Betsy is on it.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Rita Cosby is on.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, of course, we are waiting to see as that purported deadline has passed in the Nancy Guthrie case, the mother of Savannah Guthrie. Savannah Guthrie putting out a video not too long ago saying, we believe our mom is still out there pleading with the public to help. And also, so much news about the Super Bowl, guys. Did you watch it? Well, I did. I was watching, and I was also looking to see, is Bad Bunny going to do anything? Well, Bad Bunny, who did his entire show in Spanish, and yo puedo entender español, so I could understand what he was saying, but I would say most Americans could not, and we're going, Lady Gaga did do a little bit in English, and his show was, by the way, I'm not going to take away, he's a good performer. He definitely had theatrics. He had the people that were dressed like, bushes. I mean, that was pretty creative. But was that really a show for a big all-American sport and doing the whole thing in Spanish? It was a little weird. But one thing I did love was after the halftime, right after Bad Bunny, as I call him, right after that, there was this great ad supporting ICE. And I don't think it's any mistake. It ran right after Bad Bunny got off the stage. This was my favorite. Take a listen to this.
They're friends and neighbors, sons, fathers. They're little league coaches and veterans. They're people who love this country. These are Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers. They are removing violent criminals from our streets and neighborhoods. It's dangerous and difficult work. But ICE has one mission: to make America a safer place to live. And that's what they're doing. This is law enforcement. This is ICE.
I thought that was great. And the Turning Point USA halftime alternative got about 6 million just on YouTube. There were on other platforms. They said on these other platforms it went up to like 22 million plus. So a lot of people were looking for other alternatives. Although I also heard the halftime for Bad Bunny got the biggest amount ever in history for halftime. So there was a lot of interest all the way around. But was there something awkward about the whole thing in Spanish? Did it feel sort of so disconnected? And did it feel also it was sort of an in your face, marching with all the different flags all over the place? And I was waiting to see the Stars and Stripes. I don't even know if I saw the Stars and Stripes in that halftime performance. If I do, I can't remember it. I saw it elsewhere, which was beautiful. I loved, by the way, at one point where they were showing the troops over in the Middle East that were saluting during the national anthem. That was great. That was great. We need more of that. But listen to this. This is California Congressman, Democrat Ro Khanna. He goes to the Super Bowl, and listen to why he said he actually went. This is incredible.
I'm Congressman Ro Khanna. I'm going to be outside Levi Stadium all afternoon with my team to make sure there is no incident with ICE during the Super Bowl.
So he's going to make sure there was no ICE incident during the Super Bowl. You've got to be kidding me. How ridiculous and how crazy is that? What was your reaction, first of all, to the Super Bowl, guys? What did you think? And also tonight, of course, the other big story, as the deadline has passed, where do you think the case goes from here with Nancy Guthrie, Savannah Guthrie, putting out a plea, asking for the public, if you've seen anything, please report it. Please help us find our mother. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Liz in Florida on line 5. Go ahead, Liz. Your thoughts. What do you think?
Hi, Rita. Listen, I'm not a detective. However, if I were, I would.
However, what? You stayed in a Holiday Inn last night?
No.
I love that commercial, by the way. That was one of the best ones. They didn't do it last night, but I love that one.
No, I was. If you mean on the show,
yeah. Have you ever seen? They used to do the commercials that would say, I'm not a doctor, but I did stay in a Holiday Inn Express last night.
Oh, okay.
I did.
Okay,
it was one of those things. But anyway, go ahead. I'm just having fun with you. Go ahead, Liz.
I would go straight to the source. That would be Nancy's good friends, her church friends, her mahjong friends, her bingo friends, the ones she speaks to every day, spilling like all family secrets to get all this information. And like seniors love to talk because they may be a family member she was unhappy with, or that they wanted money from her, or maybe one of the workers that worked in her, a landscaper needed to borrow money. Maybe she was recently scammed. There's a lot you can learn from speaking to any of her cronies.
And I agree. That's actually a very good point, because she clearly probably felt good with them. Maybe she would reveal to them she was disappointed with somebody else in the family. I'm really having a hard time with blank, or I told so-and-so to get rid of so-and-so. You just don't know what sort of personal relationships. And the other thing you brought up also, the whole landscaper, it may be, there's clearly somebody that has connections to this house. And it could be someone directly, or it could be like a layer away. It could be a landscaper had somebody else show up, or maybe she complained about business and they were like, oh, get back to her. Or maybe a landscaper, got into some bad business with a drug deal, and the only way he could get out of it was to somehow, rob this woman's house, who he thought had a lot of money in the neighborhood. I mean, there's a lot of scenarios, but there's a lot more to the story than meets the eye. And these ransom notes, the fact that they're not communicating, Liz, and even the FBI says tonight that there hasn't been ongoing. So if you believe that that is the case, what kind of a ransom, what kind of a hostage taker sends a note, then sends that second note to that second station, clearly enjoying it because he's watching, or she, I think it's a he or multiple, watching it on TV, watching it sort of unfold, liking the attention, and doesn't say, okay, here's where you have to put the money. Here's to drop it off. I need it by X. I need this. The deadline passed. They didn't do anything. Usually they're pushing. I mean, you see it in the movies all the time. They're calling up. They're calling on a burner phone. They're calling on a here. We're not hearing any of that. That's what this is not a traditional one in any sense of the word. Right, Liz?
I agree. I don't think it's about the money. Because, like you said, they would at least show signs of life. And they said she'd be returned, but they didn't say alive or dead. So that's something I was, upset about. But who knows? I mean, there's so many scenarios, and it's so upsetting.
It is really upsetting. And my heart absolutely breaks for the Guthrie family. I can't imagine what that is like, to sit there and be pleading for your mother's return, the whole world watching this moment. And obviously, I'm sure getting so many different opinions from law enforcement and not really knowing what to do, because I don't think law enforcement at this point, I do believe they probably don't have a suspect. Maybe they have an intuition of it could be this kind of a person or this one, but they couldn't prove it. I hope that that's the case. I hope they're not completely in the dark. But it may be what it seems. And if that's the case, this is really puzzling. I mean, this is just an unbelievable one. And this person can't be that stupid. And I say this because they got away with, so far, it's been 9 days, and we haven't even seen any video or surveillance footage or look out for this vehicle, look out for anything. So there are a lot of twists. Yeah, what do you think, Liz?
Well, I think that unfortunately, I don't think they can give any type of. I don't think she's around, because then they'd be able to say, here's a proof of life, or maybe I'm thinking maybe it's about life insurance or a will. Also, could be something like that.
Yeah, it could be.
Member.
It could be. You don't know. It could be a family or somebody close to a family member. I say it could even be somebody unbeknownst to them that maybe a family member said something. Who knows? It could be somebody owed money for drugs or got involved with the wrong person, and they don't realize. I mean, sometimes these things happen where it's not even. It's a second tier person, and maybe the first person said something but didn't realize that would trigger somebody else to do something. Who knows? Clearly, I believe that law enforcement at this moment is at a loss. It doesn't mean that something couldn't break in the next few hours or next day or two, and I pray it does. But I think they genuinely are at a loss at this point. But I do think it's interesting. They keep going back to the sister's house. That to me is an interesting sign. Liz, thank you so much. Let's go to Mike on the Lower East Side on line 2. Mike, what do you think?
How you doing, Rita? Yeah, I've been doing search and rescue for 29 years with the Coast Guard Auxiliary.
Oh, okay, great. Awesome. Mike, now I know why I love you, Mike. Go ahead. Awesome.
Maybe another 15 years before that. But sometimes you got to speed read, when you do search and rescue on the water too. I think they're bogging down over there, doing more of a recovery thing. They got to look towards Mexico, because what's the easiest part of the whole plan is going to Mexico. I rode from California on Route 10, about 9 miles from her house. Okay, so from Route 10 to the junction, I think it's 19 that goes into Mexico. There's nobody around. I mean, if I saw one tractor trailer every 20 minutes, it was too much on a workday. All right, so it's desolate, and it's just an hour into Mexico, not even. So the easiest part of the whole thing was going to Mexico, and there's got to be a border security on the junction of 19 and 10. And they got it. They got all the plates, probably all the plate numbers. They got to do whatever vehicle went through. It had to be like an emergency vehicle or a contractor's vehicle, something that went back and forth every day, and they probably used it with the guy without the guy's notice. You know what I mean? Without the owner's notice.
By the way, Mike, you know what's an interesting point, Mike? That's a good point. If they can somehow, with technology, put together maybe who crossed the border in this window, the last few days, because it may not have been right away, versus who was in the area. The problem is they don't seem to have anything of who was in the area, which is why it makes you really wonder. Because wouldn't you think at this point they would put out there, okay, here it is. Does anybody recognize this blue vehicle? Does anybody recognize this green car? Whatever it is. And we haven't seen that. And it's to the point where Savannah is now pleading for the public to help.
One more thing, Rita.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's one more thing. Like the security camera, who was paying for those bills is one thing. Another thing, didn't the security company notify Nancy that her
bill wasn't paid or whatever? Right.
Get cut down.
Right.
And then on top of it, they should have never cut it off. All right. So, or maybe she did pay it and they cut her off on top of it for this scenario to work out. So we got to find out through her bank if the money went through to pay the bill, and when did they cut it off? I mean, they wouldn't have cut it off the day before. Who knows? Maybe they cut it off
by the way,
day.
maybe it's been like that the whole time. That's the other thing. We don't know. Like maybe she got the camera, but they just didn't, fully set it up and pay the account. A lot of people sometimes let things lapse. And also, if you're in a rural area like that, a lot of times people get a false sense of security. So that's another thing, too. But it's worth looking into. Like you said, was that a new thing or has it been like that the whole time? Those are actually very good questions, Mike. Let's go to Joaquin in Pennsylvania. Joaquin, your questions. We just heard some good ones from Mike there.
Yes, really. If that was Mike from last week, his thing about searching property with German Shepherds, that made a lot of sense to me. But I agree wholeheartedly with you when it comes down to the sheriff. This guy just reeks of incompetence.
Yeah, he's completely incompetent. And now we're hearing that there was some staffing issue why they didn't put like eyes in the sky drones up there right away because there was some staffing problem. So that like maybe he had let go of somebody, just not anticipating there'd be a problem. Well, you can't, law enforcement, you got to be prepared for anything at any time. And I'll tell you, Joaquin, I brought this up with Betsy Brantner Smith. The fact that guy was at University of Arizona basketball game, and I don't know if his son plays for it or if his neighbor or his friend. I don't care. I'm sorry. I'd go crazy. If it was my mother and the head sheriff, the head of the whole investigation, he's supposed to be sort of the head person. Obviously, FBI is doing a lot of the legwork, thank God. But this guy feels like the Keystone Cops. And if his story is not consistent, why did we hear if originally the son-in-law dropped off and then now he says, only family. And now we're hearing the story that maybe she was never supposed to be at church, but she was supposed to be at a friend's place watching a live stream church service. We'll see if that's correct. If that's correct, that's a whole other thing that he wasn't accurate about. So what else is he not telling us, or does he just not know?
Just simply for the fact, when I heard that he opened up that crime scene, he changed the status of it.
Right, that's another thing, too. You're right.
You have to be kidding me. And I would, if it was me, if there was, they talk about the blood splatters in the front. I don't know if they ran DNA on those, to see who they belonged to.
They did. And they said it was Nancy Guthrie's blood.
Okay. Because if it goes into the driveway, like they're saying, it would be interesting, to be able to follow that blood. Because if it went into the driveway, then she was alive when she got into whatever vehicle it was.
So where did the car go, Joaquin? That's the other question tonight. Right. Where did the car go? We haven't heard. I would venture to say there's probably not a lot of traffic in that area by those traffic lights at 1:32 in the morning.
Right. I mean, in old TV shows, I don't know what kind of driveway it is, but they always showed, tire, matching tires.
Yeah, tire marks, exactly. Like there's got to be something, right?
If you could match them to tire tracks that have been there previously, who knows? I mean, that's just, I hate even, speculating on things like this when it comes to something like this, But I also, unfortunately, I would have never paid that ransom because to me it just seems like that whoever's asking for this ransom just latched onto this and seen it as an opportunity to make money out of it. Because if they can send ransom notes, why can't they send a video showing her being alive?
Well, that's why, by the way, Joaquin, we don't know if indeed they paid any ransom. It sounded like they said they would pay, but then the next thing we know, we heard her asking for the public's help, which could mean she paid or could mean they decided, no, maybe these ransom notes are not correct or real or whatever. By the way, I like your points about looking at the tire tracks and everything like that in the driveway. That's another great point. Joaquin, you should be the sheriff, not him. You and Mike should be co-sheriffs, and that guy shouldn't be in control. I'd much rather have you guys in charge of the investigation. Joaquin, thanks so much. We're going to continue after the break, everybody. 1-800-848-9222. But first, support our heroes.
The Rita Cosby Show presents Support Our Heroes.
And this is the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Support Our Heroes segment with a very powerful story coming from Lubbock, Texas, where the veterans of foreign wars had a special recognition ceremony to honor World War II veteran Vanden Kirby, who is one of the organization's eldest members, and he celebrates his 102nd birthday. By the way, in 1943, the veteran answered the call of duty, boarding a transport ship at New York Harbor bound for the European theater there in World War II. After landing in France and serving through the height of the conflict, he returned home in 1946. He said that his homecoming from the war was marked by a very poignant milestone, time shared by many of the greatest generation as he met his young son for the very first time upon his return to American soil. And how beautiful to see him honored in such a great way. And everybody, help America to never, ever forget. Donate $11 a month to the incredible Tunnel to Towers Foundation. They are the best. Be sure to check them out at T2T.org. That's T, the number 2, T.org.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. It's the Rita Cosby Show.
And everybody also, all eyes on Iran. Word just coming that Benjamin Netanyahu is going to be meeting with President Trump Wednesday at the White House. So what could be happening potentially soon? 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to all your calls, you guys. We got a lot of them. Let's go to Tony real quick. Line 5. Go ahead, Tony.
Rita, your call with Betsy was stunning because I had been looking at how dysfunctional the sheriff was with the family and what he was communicating. And I thought, there's like inbreeding here. There's too much, social. And that's what she was talking about. But when we heard about Senator Mark Kelly, who it's in the papers that he got the call, and then they went out to report it. That explains why the sheriff and was fumbling for all those days and closing up the place, instead of securing it, he just left it, abandoned it, and then the FBI got involved. That was a Senator Warren bumble.
Well,
the FBI
and by the way, what are you doing at a basketball game, Sheriff, right? I mean, right. That's the other thing. That to me is astounding, Tony. Now he's finally supposedly getting his act together, but we're hearing different versions of the story. Tell us everything so the public can help.
Thanks for listening to The Rita Cosby Show. You can hear The Rita Cosby Show weeknights at 10 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here? Looking for financial insights you can trust?
How do you protect yourself as an investor? What's the strategy?
I think it's really simple. I think you just want to be diversified in your portfolio.
The Payne family brings real-world experience to every conversation.
Well, I think that's the problem right now is, right, a lot of people that are close to retirement, they're taking so much risks. And if we do get a big sell-off, it could derail their retirement.
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.